Tatum African American Resource Center of the Toledo Lucas County Public Library proudly presents the Edrene Cole Oral History Project. This unique undertaking spotlights the Edrene Cole Collection, a compiled oral history of film and transcriptions. This special collection is named after the late Edrene Cole, a local historian and educator who devoted much of her life to documenting and sharing the stories of noteworthy Toledoans in the African American community. With the Oral History Project, the Tatum Center honors Cole's memory and continues her work. Join us and University of Toledo anthropology professor Dr. Willie McKether as Toledo's very own African Americans share the rich stories of their lives.
Today we are here talking to singer Ramona Collins. Welcome.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine, how are you?
I'm good, I'm good.
Well, what I'd like to do is to start asking you some questions about your family background and talking a little bit more about your social life, growing up and things. When were you born?
1948, in Toledo at Maumee Valley Hospital.
Maumee Valley Hospital.
Yeah, I understand it's no longer there. Yeah, they said
Really?
it was torn down some time ago, but because I wanted to see where I was born, but you know, they told me it was torn down, so.
Okay.
Out there on Detroit Avenue, Arlington, in that area, so.
When did your family, did they migrate to Toledo? Where were they from
Well,
originally?
I have relatives here. George Atkins was a police officer for many, many years. He passed away a few years ago. He was my first cousin. My mom's sister, of course, was his mother. And, you know, they had some offspring from that situation. My mom came here to Toledo from Dixon, Illinois. And, well, let me see. I was born in 48, so Mom probably came here, I don't know, 47, 48, something like that. Mm-hmm. And she was just starting to play piano. My uncle played drums. My mom played piano. And I guess when she got here, she met people like John Hendricks. He was just starting really to sing. And I understand back then that the music scene was quite vibrant.
Okay.
You know, I know I've heard John tell stories about how he and Art Tatum used to play at the after-hours joints.
Yes.
For the gangsters and all this stuff. I'm like, whoa, and I missed that. You know, but, you know, it sounds like it was a great time back then. So, you know, a little different than it is now. But
So was she part of the jazz scene in
Dixon?
Illinois?
Dixon is a small town. Ronald Reagan is from Dixon, Illinois. It's a very small town. It's 129 miles from Chicago.
Okay.
And my mom and her older sister are the ones that came this way.
Okay.
I had an aunt in Chicago who played piano for years and years and years. So they all just kind of came to the Midwest, and that's where everybody stayed, you know. And then we were in Toledo probably till 51. And then my mom, my brother and I moved to Lansing, Michigan. And that's where I stayed until I was like 21. And then I returned to Toledo because I wanted to see what it was like to live here. And it was close enough that I could still, you know, go back and forth easily to see my mother and my brothers and sisters. I'm the oldest of 9 kids. And for people that wonder why I act the way I do, it's because I'm the oldest of 9 kids, and my mother always told me to do stuff. Take care of this, take care of that. And I started babysitting my brothers and sisters when I was like 8 years old. My mother was a musician. I mean, that's what she did. You know, I had friends whose mothers worked at Oldsmobile and Motor Wheel and Fisher Body and all these places in Lansing, you know, because that was, you know, heavy manufacturing over there too. And my mom played piano. You know, she'd work at the Grand Hotel in Mackinac Island.
Okay.
And my stepfather was a head waiter. So,
Right.
you know, it was always that kind of, you know, they're busy, they're gone, they're whatever. But I learned how to do a lot of things pretty much on my own. Like, remember the old wringer washers?
Yes.
Got my fingers caught in that one many times, but I learned how to do it. And I love those old wringer washers. I don't think anything washes like those used to.
Like those?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. You know, but I mean, you know, I learned how to take charge of things. And And it's funny now that my brothers and sisters are all, you know, adults and stuff, and they often talk about how I treated them and how I would I had this thing about white clothes. Everything had to be snow white, you know, because back then you hung clothes outside on the line.
That's right.
And to my mother, the cardinal sin was putting dingy white clothes on a clothesline for the neighbors to see.
Yes.
So I always knew the importance. I always knew the importance of making sure those diapers or whatever they were snow white, you know. And when you have a lot of kids, a lot of times people, I don't know if they think you're so overwhelmed that you can't manage. And people would often come to their house and they go, "Oh, your house is so clean. Oh, you're not, you know, like your kids are clean, you know."
Like
and
a surprise.
they would always sit on the couch in a line and do like this and sing. That's what they would do. They would sit there and bump like this and sing, and they would have on white T-shirts and their little underwear and stuff. And they still talk about that, you know. Wow. But I just had this thing. I never want anybody to say that my brothers and sisters were anything, you know, but pristine in their little T-shirts and underwear and whatever else they would wear. And I learned early to be a thrifty person, a bargain hunter. I would go to resale shops, you know, and find stuff for them because we didn't have a lot of money, you know. I mean, I wore a dress until I was like 13.
Wow.
And I was a tomboy, so that was kind of a problem. I used to run boxcars and do all these things in a dress.
Run boxcars.
See?
Run boxcars.
Well, yeah, we lived down this hill, and then the railroad tracks were down there, and the trains would be there, and that was the initiation into our neighborhood. You had to be able to run boxcars. Wow. Which means you climbed up on the train, and then you ran, and when you got to the end, you jumped over to the next one, and you just did that without falling.
Wow.
Yes. Oh, it was wonderful. I haven't done that since I've been in Toledo, though. I don't know where the trains are.
That's funny.
Oh, it was. I was a serious tomboy, but I didn't have shorts and jeans, all that kind of stuff. I had to wear dresses. So.
Okay. So and you took care of. Did you see the way your siblings looked in terms of their dress or their behavior as a reflection of you and your skills?
Yes.
Okay.
And actually, I still do.
Okay.
I mean, we still do a lot of family things. We still try to instill in the younger people in our family, you know, the grandkids, you know how we always talk about the old folks that give you that look.
Yeah.
You know, whether you're in church or wherever, they just say, "Excuse me, Melissa," you know, and just give you that look, and you don't have to say anything. You just go, "Ooh, okay." You know, and you can look all you want to nowadays for a lot of these kids, and they just look at you like, "What?"
Exactly.
You know, so it's a different world.
Okay.
It is. It's a different world.
So what schools did you attend?
Here in Toledo, like I said, when I got to Toledo, I was 21. When I was in Lansing, I went to J.W. Section High School and Main Street School, and we were the West Junior Cowboys. And I remember our school song. We still sing it because they have these reunions every 5 years or so. And it's so nice to see everybody.
Okay.
But the nicest thing is for people to say, "Ramona Collins," because they still recognize you from all those years ago. Now I've got some college, but I haven't gone to college and gotten a degree or whatever. Because I had kids early. Okay. And while my friends were all going to college and stuff, I was taking care of my kids. Okay. And then I got seriously involved in singing when I was actually probably 18, because my mom wanted me to sing because I was so shy. You know,
Wow.
I was. I know nobody believes it. But I was so shy. You know, I was. It was ridiculous, and it did help me to sing.
When do you think you got rid of your shyness? How did that go?
After Mama started taking me to jam sessions and stuff, and she would say, "Okay, now go up there and tell them what song you want to sing, and give them the key, and don't embarrass me." That's what she would say.
Okay, so still that kind of leadership, that transition from when you were taking care of your siblings, moves back into.
Well, it's in everything I do. I mean, even people that know me now, people who don't know me think that I'm mean. I'm not mean. I'm assertive. aggressive, or whatever I need to be, you know, in any given situation. But it's I like Toledo. I mean, you know, like most people, you know, people think you're being negative when you say things about anything. But if it's the truth and it just happens to be negative, oh well, you know. Toledo's changed. When I first came here, the hub of activity was Dorr Street. And my goodness, see, coming from Lansing, Michigan, I'm telling you, I had never seen men wearing women's clothes. I'd never seen girls walking the street. I didn't know what a pimp was. I mean, it was serious nightlife on Dorr Street, but that's where all the black businesses were. I remember seeing people double and triple park, get out of their cars, just leave it parked on the street and go into this place and go into that place. And I'm like, can they do that? But they could, you know. And I remember my cousin, who was a police officer, telling me, don't let me catch you up on Dorr Street, because I'm going to tell your mother. And what he said was, nice girls don't go up on Dorr Street. I couldn't wait to get up on Dorr Street. I wanted to see what's going on. You know, I remember the M&L, the doorbell, all these places. You know, it was so just, I had never seen anything like this. And I remember standing there, used to be up on Junction and Door, there was a bank.
Okay.
And the girls would be there. So I remember standing there and asking them questions. You know, so I'm leaning against the building like this going, so what do you do when this happens? And whatever. The next thing I know, my mom gets a letter that says, I'm walking the streets in Toledo. And I said, are you serious? I said, no, Mama. I was talking to the girls. I wanted to know about this, because some of them I knew. Some of them were entertainers too, and I just wondered, how do you do this? You know, I'm like 21 years old. I'd never seen this, or didn't even know anybody who did this. Or, you know, whatever. And this was my first thing with Toledo. I was just amazed at all the activity, all the people. I mean, there were so many clubs. We never went to a club and stayed the whole night. I remember, oh my God, the Club Electra, the Walnut Room, and all these places. You go and catch somebody's show, their first show, and then you leave there, and you go and catch somebody else's show somewhere else. It was just amazing. It was so cool, you know. And the entertainers weren't charged, because in most cases somebody was going to say, hey, come on up here and you know, sing a song. I mean, the first club I ever sang in Toledo was the Green Light.
Okay.
The building is still there on Detroit Avenue, but you know, it's closed. And I used to come here on the weekends in 1968. Because I was thinking about coming back, but I just kind of wanted to get a feel for it. And when I would come on the weekends, I would stay with my relatives who lived on Grand Avenue.
Okay.
Between, Forest and Detroit.
Yes.
Their house is still there too. But Toledo is, I don't know, having those kind of memories, and you know, when you're older, you always compare things.
Yes.
You know, say, you know, I don't think it's good to get stuck in the past, but you think about what was going on and how cool that was, and if that could have continued, you know. And then things changed, and then Dorr Street changed, and it's just a different place now.
So it sounds like you were really open and curious to finding out and knowing more about what was happening.
Especially things I'd never experienced before and seen before. I just found all this bustling activity and people just moving and moving. I just thought it was so great. And where I came from, you didn't see a lot of African Americans with their own businesses like that. You know, it's like Detroit or Chicago and stuff. You know, I come to Toledo and I'm like, wow, you know, and then everybody was like right there together, you know. Man, it was amazing.
How would you characterize those race relations then? I mean, and you said that it was amazing to see all of those people there in comparison to Lansing. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
The way that I was raised, the whole thing about race and stuff, I always try to deal with it head on. You know, like I remember I had a friend, her parents did not like black people, but she and I worked together, and she didn't understand why her parents didn't like black people, which really put her in a tough place, you know. And she tried to educate them and stuff, but it just never worked. But for some reason, she was able to realize that when you go out in the world and you work and you have friends on the job and whatever, you can't put this wall up and say, well, I don't like those people. I can't deal with those people. You know, and that was probably one of the first times that I really realized, wow. Because when I was growing up, we had all kinds of people at our house. My mother was an entertainer.
Okay.
You know, we had gay folks, white folks, everybody. You know, it was just people.
Okay.
You know, so when you start getting into these situations where suddenly people are confronting you with the fact that, wait a minute, you got this big afro. You know, and I did. I had a picture taken in 1970 by Grover Cummings, who was an award-winning photographer for The Blade back there. He was awesome. And I look at that picture now, and there's not much difference in that picture, which was taken in 1971, and the way people dress now, and the way people look now. You know, you see Erykah Badu with the big fro, and you know, all these different hairstyles and stuff that people wear. I guess I adapt to change fairly well, but I've always been kind of sad about the changes that came about, especially like when Dorr Street changed.
Okay.
You know, and I remember that. I remember being at work and people saying there were some problems up on Dorr Street with Panthers. And the crazy thing is, when I first came to Toledo, and I used to see the Panthers, and they would stand there and they would have their, you know, their guns, and you know, they had the berets and all that stuff. I actually thought that was cool. Of course, I was 21.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, they're not doing anything. I just thought it was they're just really proud to be black, and they're trying to do things to help folks. And that was their initial message. Somehow it got all muddied, I think, with people thinking they were just a bunch of renegades and trying to just do things. But I remember that changed everything. It seemed like they just kind of melted away after all this. You know, an officer was killed, and everybody just went crazy. And then shortly after that, Dorr Street seemed to disappear too. Okay. It was very weird. I've never seen anything like that. I look at Dorr Street now the way it is. A lot of apartment buildings, a lot of green space. That's it. You know, maybe it's good to have businesses spread out all over the city, no matter who owns them. I don't know. Because the world has changed. You know, young people have changed.
Yeah.
When I was growing up, you didn't even know. When I came here, we used to walk we lived over on Monroe and Lawrence, where the Drew Hale building is now. There was a big apartment building there. And my girlfriend and I would walk from there to Dorr Street, no problem. Nobody bothered us. You know, day or night, you could walk, you know. And it's different now, you know.
Do you think that when you were 21 and you were talking to those girls who were standing up against the bank, do you think that their life was so much different in terms of safety and things like that, and being female and a woman and all of that?
Theirs is an age-old profession, if you will. In fact, one of the girls lived in the apartment building with us. In fact, that apartment building on Monroe and Lawrence, I was the only one that had a day gig. Everybody else was street folks. Okay. They came alive after dark. They were like vampires. Okay, it's dark, let's go, you know. But and I'd be going, I gotta go to bed. But I remember we used to pool our resources and cook and have, you know, who's cooking today? What are you cooking? Here, I got this. You know, we kind of put it all, because nobody had a lot of money, but we were surviving. And so I was interested because I saw her during the day when she was being domestic and just being someone different than she was at night. Okay. So I was interested in, you know, how do you get to this? You know, I mean, I'm not naive or stupid or anything, but it was just interesting to me. Because, you know, I didn't want anything to happen to her, and I was worried about, you know, being out in the rain and the snow and stuff. And that's what I was asking. You know, don't you get to say, I'm not going out tonight? And apparently not. Yeah. You know.
How did that curiosity, does that serve you well in the work that you do, what your day job is now?
Well, I mean, I work for the police department. I used to work in the Records Bureau of the police department. I worked for the Chamber of Commerce. I worked for the Michigan House of Representatives. So I've learned a lot of things from different arenas, and they've all served me well. I've been involved with a lot of community organizations. I like doing things. I like seeing things accomplished. I like getting people to do things. And I think that's the kind of the spirit you have to have, especially now because so many people don't have a lot, you know, so you have to be innovative and creative and do some things and try to motivate people to get out there. So.
It sounds that your family was very open, and you were one of the people who took charge in raising your siblings. Were you a church-going family?
You know, my mom would play on Saturday nights and get up and go to church and play the organ. Mm-hmm. She liked to play the organ barefoot, and like Dorothy Donegan used to. And she didn't do it every single Sunday, but she could make that transition.
Okay.
It was really interesting. My mom was about 4'11", and she was funny, but she'd get up there and play that organ and go on about her thing, and she did that. I mean, because church was certainly a big part of her life when she was growing up. When I was growing up, we had relatives in our family who were certainly old school, and old school back then was seriously old school. And you went to church 2-3 times a day, maybe 3-4 times a week, you know. And sometimes you start to feel like, and when you're a child, you know, you go, you know, can I go home? You know, I'm tired. You know, you go eat dinner, gotta go back to church, you know. Okay. And that's how it was when we were growing up. We didn't go all the time, and then as I got older and stuff, and I got kind of further and further away from it, but I always liked going to different kinds of churches.
Okay.
You know, I mean, I've played in bands with guys, and it's funny, most of the musicians that I play in bands with, they all play in church.
Okay.
You know, so even though they might play in a club or whatever, they also play in church. But the thing is, if that's what you do, you're a professional musician, that's how you make your living.
Okay.
You know, so it's really interesting. There's so many. I had no idea there were so many. But I knew a lot of the guys that I worked with, they all did play in church.
But I wanted to know, did you have a church home? Was there, you know, a specific kind of religious instruction that you had
pretty much
at home?
Baptist when I was growing up. When I was growing up. But then when you're a child, you tend to go the way of your parents.
Okay.
And then as you get older and stuff, and you start to look around and go, you know what? I think I want to do that, or whatever. And as you get older, you decide that you definitely need to find a church home and settle there, because that's you know, kind of coming full circle in your life. So, you know, I've always believed in God and been very not, you know, out there religious and stuff like that, but there's certain things you didn't do.
Okay.
You know, and you were trying to be a certain kind of person, trying to be good, trying to do things to help other people, you know.
Okay.
And even if you weren't in church every Sunday, didn't mean the church wasn't in you, because there's still teachings that I think never leave you, even though you might get away from going to church every Sunday. There's certain things that just stay with you.
Okay.
You know. And I don't know, like recently I joined another church. I like the church. I'm comfortable there. I think the pastor is, I just liked the way he delivers his message.
Okay.
And everybody sees, I mean, there's no perfect place anywhere in the world, but I'm comfortable there, so.
So why you've been a singer in Toledo, and successful at that. Why didn't you ever leave Toledo?
I've come and gone. I mean, I went on the road for a while with Anthony Tillman. He came here back in the late 70s used to play at Kip's, Mary Miko's. And had a group from the East Coast called the East Coast Brass, and show band, dance band, the whole thing. Anyway, they invited me to go on the road with them. I went out for a short time because I missed my kids, and my kids missed having me. So when you have children,
How many children?
I have 5.
Okay.
And when you have children, my sisters and my brothers were, because I moved the kids back to Michigan.
Okay.
But sometimes you just have to think about, okay, what's really a priority here? And it was my kids. It was always my kids. You know, because people over the years have always said, you know, you should go to New York, or you should do this, or you should do that. Yeah, that's fine. But the thing is, even if I couldn't do it like that, I still was able to be a singer. I will have a musical legacy when I'm gone. I will have left some things behind, some videos, even things like this, interviews where I talked about what I did. But most important, the music itself. I'm always saddened when someone who's in the business, whether they're a dancer, a singer, or an artist, whatever they are, if that's been a big part of your life, how could you leave here and not leave something like that behind for people who cared about you and what you did to enjoy? You know, and music, I mean, I mean, technology today makes it so easy for everybody to do a CD, to get your music out there and let the people decide. You know, the days of waiting to be signed by some major label, I mean, the record industry has totally changed. You know, so if you're waiting on the sidelines to be discovered, that may not happen. So what are you going to do? Not sing, not play, not dance, not act? What? You know, there are ways to get out there and do it anyway and still touch people's lives, and that's what I feel I've done. You know, success is measured in different ways. Some people have big houses, a lot of money, cars, whatever. But if you've managed to do your thing and touch people's lives and have a following. I mean, after 40 years, I still have a following, you know, and seem to be acquiring new fans all the time. So I just encourage people, don't just let the years pass by and not record anything. I mean, I can't imagine that. If this is what you do, do it.
Just do it.
Yeah.
Okay. What's it like being, two questions, what's it like being a woman in the business, and what's it like being older now and being in the business?
What I've found over the years, I mean, when I back in the day, I remember being in a group. It was a funk band called Color Scope, and we just had fun. I mean, we just, you know, hey, you know, funky and all that whole thing, you know. But my roots were jazz, you know.
Okay.
So after a while, I decided I just wanted to do some different things. I wanted to perform before more diverse audiences. I just didn't want to be in the hood, if you will.
Okay.
And because then it opens up a whole new world, and everybody should experience that, doing different kinds of things, meeting all kinds of folks. So even though I really love jazz, I also like doo-wop, I like Motown, I like blues, I like all of that, but I do it my way.
Okay.
You know, and that's the thing. I think everybody's versatile to a certain degree, but you know, like if you do top 40 music, you're supposed to emulate the artist that made that music.
Yes.
You know, nobody really cares about your interpretation of that song. They want you to sound like Aretha, or they want you to sound like whoever. And as far as what it's like now being older, when you look at the music that's out there, I can't imagine myself singing something that Beyonce sings, or Chrisette, or just a lot of these young singers. I mean, I'm like, whoa. I mean, they're like, in some cases, they're my grandson's age. And their message, been there, done that, you know? So a lot of times, that's why I think you have so many of the nostalgia tours and all that. People get to an age where it's like, okay, I can't do that, but I can still do the music that people grew up with and that people can relate to, and that brings back, you know, all these great memories for them. So I think that's why nostalgia tours are so successful.
Even, you know, now at your age, aren't there things that you're going through or things that you're feeling, because you are a songwriter also, that you would write about now?
Well, you know, I don't know if you read it. I mean, there have been people like Gladys Knight and some of the other singers, the veteran singers, who feel that there's so much focus on youth that it's almost like there's no place for them. You know, so I look at it like, if they feel that way, and I mean, these people are major stars, you know, who am I? You know, I mean, I'm in Toledo, Ohio. I'm not on the national, you know, the global stage. You know, but when the focus does change to youth like that, what it seems the way that the music business handles it, they'll do a special and they'll have like Chaka Khan and Aretha and Beyonce and Fantasia and all these people, you know. But the thing is, these people have been in the business 40, 50 years. These people are legends. And you only get to be a legend if you do what you've done for a long, long time. That's like the misuse and overuse of the word diva. Everybody's a diva now. That can't be possible. You know, are you diva just because you sing? You know, it seems to have lost its meaning, because they just throw it around for anybody. You know, you come out, you've been singing 2 days, you're a diva. You know, and I can't imagine what it must feel like to be a Gladys Knight or a Chaka Khan or any of the singers that I grew up listening to, and to still be here now and see how the music has changed. I mean, even what was playing on the radio, most stations are automated now. You know, that's why CD Baby and the internet is so important, because you still can have a presence and you can take it right to the people. Because a lot of people look for their music on the internet now. They don't, radio, no.
So do you think that there's more original music on?
I think people are starting to be, well, that's where the new standards and the new music is going to come from. I mean, people are writing, but it has to have some value. Think about songs that have lasted all these years. I mean, there's so many songs that are beautiful lyrics that when you hear them, you say, oh my God, that's such a perfect song. Or if you have a particular occasion that you're trying to celebrate, certain songs fit that occasion, you know. But a lot of the music, it's all about dancing. It's not, let's write something that'll be here 20, 30, 40 years from now. You know, that people will say, oh, that song that Beyonce did or whatever. And I'm not minimizing her contributions to the music because the young people are certainly with it, but they haven't lived 60 years like I have and seen all the wonderful music that has come down, you know, that we've drawn from, you know, songs that'll never die.
Do you think there's segregation in music and people listening to music?
Yeah. I remember listening to, back when I was in a group called Color Scope, we were trying to book a gig. And we were all on, well, two of us were on the phone. And the club owner was telling the person who was trying to book the gig, because there were 9 of us in the group. I was the only woman, and we were all African American. And he said something to the effect, I don't remember his exact words, but he said, I don't want the guys messing with the white girls. Like that. Like that, that's all they were living for, you know? And as being a woman and having been on the road and been in many bands where I was the only female, that's not always the case. A lot of times African American males go into a club and they perform. A lot of times women throw themselves at them, all colors of women. Okay, but somehow it's perceived that they are going like this. And that's not always the case.
Okay.
You know? And there are people who are professional enough. These guys got wives, they got girlfriends. They're not chasing these women. They came to do a gig. Who would jeopardize their gig just to be with somebody? You know, but you know how people are. Oh, he's singing. Oh, my God. You know, that kind of stuff. Okay, that's fine. But then you have men who get jealous because their girlfriend is liking that bass player, that singer, or that guitar player.
Exactly.
You know, and then sometimes that's where the drama starts.
Okay.
You know, and a lot of times what I have found, it was easier for me as a black woman to have an all-white band, and I could go anywhere I wanted to go. And that's what I found over the years.
Because...
Which wasn't always fair because of the perception.
Okay.
We weren't a threat. I mean, there were people who felt, okay, some clubs, and there's still some like this, if you have an all-black band coming here, they're going to draw black people to the club. And they might not want that. I've got a lot of wonderful musicians that I have access to, you know, here in Detroit and wherever. And I try not to really dwell on the color and stuff, but depending on where you're trying to work, you have to acknowledge it.
Okay.
You do. And if you don't, you're deluding yourself because it's a real situation. It's a real problem for some folks. They do look at the makeup of your band. They do look at, that's why a mixed band is always good, you know. But, you know, like tonight, I'm working with someone. He and I worked together for years. White guy, wonderful musician, good friend, known him for many, many years. We don't have any problems, you know. Okay. When you're doing, and the thing is around here, there weren't a lot of African Americans doing jazz anymore. A lot of the guys are gone, you know. So.
Why do you think that is?
R&B, rap. I don't know. I always thought of Toledo as a country and blues town.
Okay.
But maybe I was wrong. It changed. It did. It changed.
You said it was more a country and blues.
Well, because that seems to be well, country, rock, and blues. I don't definitely don't want to leave rock out.
Yeah.
But it's not an R&B town.
Okay.
It's not a rap town. I mean, you look at Detroit. Detroit is everything.
Yes.
I mean, Detroit has given the world awesome music in every genre. You know. And here we are, the home of our Tatum. Okay, how many times is that I mentioned Art's name? 3. Okay. Here we are, Toledo, Ohio, the home of our Tatum, one of the greatest, well, some people say, the greatest jazz musician who ever lived. And we don't really celebrate that as much as we should. And I often have people, especially jazz people, who go, you guys are Toledo, how come you know, whatever.
Yeah.
And they always don't want, how come there's not, I mean, when you think about it, when you go into Monroe, there was a sign up there that says, Monroe, home of Lazy Boy. We have nothing that says, and Bowling Green has Scott Hamilton. We have nothing that says home of Art Tatum, you know. And we had the festival, but I mean something. And now they're going to have the artwork down when the arena opens. But a lot of people won't know just looking at that's Art Tatum. That's a tribute to Art Tatum. Because in a lot of cities where they have tributes to jazz artists like that, they actually have a statue or a bust or something that you can look at and say, oh, that's Melissa Jeter.
Why do you think that is? That there isn't that specific focus for Toledo to say, this is the home of Art Tatum?
Are we keeping it real? This is where I always get in trouble. Are we keeping it real?
Well,
Okay.
as real as you want to keep it.
I'm saying that this is what I see. Maybe I'm wrong, and if I am, that still won't change the way I feel. I think that black people in this town do not stand up and fight for things. They do not, and I don't mean fight in a negative way. I mean stand up and say, excuse me, we will not be ignored. There are certain things that you have to take a stand on, and if you want it to happen, you have to make it happen. You know, whether it's Art Tatum or what, you can't let other people drive the bus on everything. Because then after a while they tend to ignore you because you have no clout. You know, you have no clout. People are always talking about, you know, black folks did this, they don't do that, they don't do this and that. That's not true of black folks everywhere. But in Toledo, what I see, I got mine, you get yours. And don't bother me.
Okay.
Nobody wants to shake the, and actually I've had people tell me, don't make waves. Don't make waves because you want to stand up and address a situation. You're making waves. You know, you can't live like that.
There's some responsibility or empowerment. I don't know how exactly.
Well, you got to set some
that.
kind of model for young people to
Okay.
follow and say, okay, we have to be activists about certain things. I mean, we have to get out in our neighborhoods. We have to do things to show that, no, we're about more than this. You know, and we do have people that fight. They go to school board meetings and stand up and whatever, but there's strength in numbers. Because when you notice it's a small group of people, they're perceived as rabble-rousers, which I know that word because I've been called that before. But they're perceived as troublemakers. Oh, that's just them. These few people over here, because nobody else is upset about it. And that's ridiculous.
Okay.
You know, and Toledo is just like that. I mean, people come here all the time and they go, what's up with Toledo? You know, and they'll say, y'all this and y'all that. And I'm like, wait a minute. Everybody's not like
Not
that.
everybody.
But you see young people, the young people that we need, because we're always talking about the political climate in this town, and how we don't have young people lined up to step into politics and stuff. You know, we're just rehashing the same people over and over and over. Here they come again. Okay, now here's a grandson. Okay, here's a nephew. That whole thing.
Yes.
Where are the people who are ultimately going to take this city where they need to go? You know, because one thing I think is happening, not just in Toledo, but on a national level, folks are getting tired of having every aspect of their life trashed because they want to run for public office. You know, and I mean, whose life is perfect? Nobody's.
Exactly.
No. But if you say, you know what, I really want to step up and I want to be in politics in Toledo, I want to do something to make my city a better place to live, you got to go through all this garbage, folks going on the internet, finding out what you did when you were in high school and just dragging you through the mud. So that's not conducive to getting people to want to go into public office. And we really need new blood. We need young folks, but we also need the wisdom, the knowledge and the experience that older folks have. I mean, most of us who are baby boomers, we're not going to curl up and die. So this whole idea that, well, you know, you're 60 now, like you have nothing to offer, that's not true. You know, my job is helping people find jobs. And I hear so many people go, well, I'm not going to find a job because I'm 57, and they're not going to hire me, I'm 55. Nobody wants me, I'm 62.
Since this conversation started by talking about Art Tatum, let's talk a little bit more about Art Tatum.
Yeah.
What relationship did your family have with Art Tatum?
My family didn't really have a relationship with Art Tatum. Like I said, back in the day, back in the 40s, my mom, when she first came here, Art Tatum and John and all those folks, you know, their paths all crossed, of course. I didn't really know a lot about Art Tatum. Like I said, I worked for the state for 12 years, and when our office was on Madison, one of the gentlemen I worked with is married to Art Tatum's niece. So that's when I found a lot more about him. And then there's a book that was written called about Art Tatum called Too Marvelous for Words.
Yes.
Which is a very nice book. It's a very nice book. And I've always thought that we should have had something that celebrated Art Tatum and said, hey, we're Toledo. We know Art Tatum's important to the rest of the world. Because when you go to other countries, they talk about him. I mean, they know more about him and celebrate him more than we do, you know.
Okay.
So when I was president of the Jazz Society, I asked Lucille, that's Art Tatum's niece, if she and Walter would let us name the festival after him so that we could start to get some national recognition and let people outside Toledo know that, hey, we know that Art Tatum was certainly a treasure here, and he's known all over the world. He was awesome, and we're glad that this is his hometown. And they said they didn't mind, you know, they just have a festival that was community-based so that, you know, everybody could enjoy and celebrate and whatever.
What inspires you about Art Tatum?
I like, you know, the fact that here was somebody who was blind. I'm always amazed at people who have any kind of impairment, because they seem that it's like, okay, this happened or whatever, and it's like God said, okay, I'm gonna give you something extra, you know. And look at the legacy he's left. You know, I think the saddest thing of it is that the house, his family home over on City Park, I've gone over a couple times and picked up trash in the yard, and the neighbors seem to be doing a good job of keeping it free of trash. But there's been so much discussion over the years about what to do, you know, make it a museum or whatever. And you can't really make something a museum if there's nothing there that belonged to the individual, you know. And it's just kind of sad. I mean, the plaque is in the yard, and I'm glad to see that, but I hope that someday there will be a way that we can do something. I don't know on what scale, how many other mountains to climb before we can do that. You know, get people back to work, so there is money and stuff. But I don't know. For people that don't know about Art Tatum, I think it's there are ways. That's why I think the Resource Center, for people who have never experienced it, that's why I thought it would be a good idea to have some kind of relationship with the Sight Center, because there are other people who have vision issues, and just kind of bringing those together and showing that, you know, you can still do so many things, even though that, you know, that might be a problem for you. So this 100th birthday celebration, we're going to, you know, keep his name out there. And then, you know, of course, the arena is going to open. They're going to put up the piece. And the center is here.
Yes.
You know, 365 days a year. You can go, not come in every day, but this is here all the time for people who are not aware of it. And I think you can even take a more prominent place in the community for people who really don't know that this center exists and that this is pretty much about Art Tatum. I mean, they have the scholarship thing at the university every year in his name. And as long as something like that is going on, any musicians who were influenced by him or know him, one of my good friends is Johnny O'Neill, who played Art Tatum in the movie Ray. And I remember when I first met Johnny at Rusty's years and years ago, he could play like Art Tatum. And he could do this thing with his eyes, and it made him look like Art Tatum. Oh, he was just crazy. He was. He was. But he's somebody who certainly respects the contributions that Art Tatum has made, and a lot of the musicians, especially the older musicians, do. And the younger ones who know about him. And I think doing things like having the birthday celebration and trying to get people involved in that, you know, and just letting the people outside the city know that we know he was special. We know that we have something,
Talent.
you know, and yeah, I mean, that's history. That's part of our history. You know, there may be people who don't know who he is, have no idea where he lived, none of that, and maybe they don't care. But there are many who do.
Yes. Vocally, you were an alto, correct?
Vocally, I'm an alto. My range is weird. When I was younger, I sang first soprano, and and I was a smoker at one time in my life. So, a lot of times, as you get older, even if you're not a smoker, whatever, something happens in your throat and your voice gets lower. You know, sometimes that doesn't happen, but I think about all the women in my family, and we all have low voices like this, and none of them are smokers. My mother wasn't a smoker.
Okay.
You know, but you know, I can still hit a few high notes and stuff. I don't.
Can you do a little something?
Oh my gosh! Let me see. Oh yeah, what time is it? 11:30 on a Saturday morning. Yeah, I can sing. Sure can. I don't know. Let me see. That's the thing. What do you sing? I mean, a little ditty, as they would call it. I don't know. There's so many songs and so little time. I don't know.
What was it? Do you remember the song that that may have been the moment that broke your shyness?
Oh gosh, no.
No.
Oh no, that was so many. That was so many years ago. Wow. Oh, I mean, and that's when people say, "Well, what's your favorite song?" I said, I have no one favorite song.
Okay.
Or favorite artist. I said because I like different people for different reasons, and I like different songs for different
Okay.
reasons. So to say that one song or one artist is my absolute favorite, I can't do it.
Is there a standard that people ask you for? Just to,
Again,
you know,
there's
no?
a lot of different songs, and people,
But
you
is
know,
there one that they ask Ramona Collins to sing?
different things. Because people will say, let me say, I've had people tell me, you remind me of Eartha Kitt, Dinah Washington, Esther Phillips, Nancy Wilson.
You had a little acting piece. You had some acting piece.
You know what? I remember. I just wanted to see if I could do it. Years ago, there was Sylvia Carter was auditioning people for colored girls who considered suicide when the rainbow was enough, and I sat on read for that. And I think the role that I won was the lady. Was it the lady in brown? I can't remember. I'm getting old now. Anyway, I got the role, but I wasn't able to do it because, again, conflict with my singing schedule. And more recently, Gloria, who was the director at The Rep, they did All Night Strut. And I got that role. Now, that role I was going to split with another singer because we both had shows and stuff to do. But it just didn't work out because we were both too busy, as it turned out. But it was nice to know that I actually could get these roles. And then I did a show called After Hours Great Legends with 10 other singers in Detroit. It was a musical, just a wonderful, wonderful show. And it only ran for a couple of weeks because it was so expensive to put on. And people still ask us, when are you going to do that show again? It was awesome. It was just so wonderful. Basically talking about the lives of entertainers and what the entertainers go through, and then recognizing a lot of the legends who have passed on and singing songs that were associated with them, and just talking about the trials and tribulations of being an entertainer, you know? Because one of the things that people learned from that play is that a lot of a lot of entertainers back in the day, they would leave one gig, drive to another gig, leave that gig, drive to another. There was a lot of driving.
Okay.
You know, just one night stands and stuff. And a lot of them, that's how they died, in car accidents.
Wow.
You know, because, again, there were a lot of places you could perform, but you can't sleep here. You know, you'd have to sleep in your car, or you can't eat here. You know, you take your food and get in your car and keep going, that kind of stuff, you know. So we were telling those kind of stories. I mean, one of the songs that we did in the play was Strange Fruit. And Strange Fruit is not a song that you just put in your show. You know, you only do Strange Fruit under certain circumstances. In fact, I was invited, I think it was the Jewish Community Center a few years ago to do that for an event that they had at Nitschke Hall. And while I was singing the song, they were showing images on a screen because a lot of people didn't really know what Strange Fruit was.
Yeah.
But that's what it was. So, but like I said, it's not a song when people go, sing your favorite song. Okay, I'd like to sing Strange Fruit. No, I wouldn't. You don't sing that all the time. Rarely do you sing that song, you know. But it was just nice to do something like that. And I'm going to be in a play in May of 2010, and it's called Church Folks. I guess it's a volume, I'm not sure which volume of it.
Yeah.
Dorothy McFarlane writes church plays, and she asked me would I be in it, so I'm looking forward to that.
Okay.
So I can put actress.
Actress, Ramona Collins.
Songwriter.
Songwriter,
Yeah.
singer, songwriter,
Yeah.
actress.
I don't dance anymore, the knees are crossed. And that's what I started out wanting to be a dancer. And I remember I had you're too young to remember Nehru jackets,
I've
Nehru
seen
clothes.
those.
And I had this dress, it was a Nehru style dress, and it came to about 3 inches above my knee. And I had these orange boots that I was going to wear with this outfit. And my mother told me that I couldn't wear stuff like that. Well, that was the end of my
You're dancing.
wanting to be a dancer.
Okay.
You can't wear that stuff. So I said, well, let me focus on singing. That's what Mama does.
Thank you. Thanks.
Hey, no problem.
Thank you.
Sorry I'm not singing, but, we'll do it another time.
Okay.
Thanks for interviewing me. I
You're
appreciate it.
welcome. Thank you.
No problem.